Welcome to Waypoint X Wednesdays. My name is Judd, so let's get started. Well, welcome back to the channel. Like I said earlier, my name is Judd, and this is Waypoint X Wednesdays, an off-road podcast. And we have a very special guest with us, Joe Pemberton from Amarillo, Texas. So nice to have him on, and we are going to talk about an awesome subject today. But welcome to the show, Joe.
Well, thank you very much.
So we are in Drummond Island, Michigan on the Drummond Island Jeep Jamboree. And so we're ready to wheel tomorrow. Everybody kind of got here yesterday and today, and everybody went out to eat together and had a good time, and we're ready to go wheeling tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. We went out a little bit and played beforehand, but not much.
Yeah, if you've seen another guy that we did some podcasts with named Clayton, he's the problem. So he's why I met Joe. So it's all Clayton's fault.
It is definitely
Clayton's
fault.
Yeah. So today, guys, we're going to talk about the two-door versus four-door debate. We've had a lot of questions about that. And so we're going to go over some positives and negatives of those. And so we're going to kind of bounce some ideas off of each other since I'm a four-door guy. He's a two-door guy. He doesn't own a four-door. And so I don't own a two-door. So he's the perfect person to not hate on the two-door because I'm going to hate on it pretty hard.
I don't know if I'm the perfect person.
It's okay. It's the best option we had.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Just kidding. Great guy. But here's some things that I like for a four-door, because I'll start it off, is I like the length because it's not as tippy. But you were talking earlier about some good things about two-door. So what's yours for a two-door?
Yeah, so when you get those sharp breakover angles, you don't drag. So, a two-door on 33s is equal to a four-door on 37s on some of the breakovers, and you're not getting turtled. And you're just going. On
our rides, that we do for Waypoint X, if someone has a four-door on 37s, I equivalate that to like a two-door on 35s.
Yeah.
Like you just go down a size, and it's like they can do the same thing.
I agree.
Because they're able to bounce through the trail, the breakover angles are crazy, and the maneuverability, because y'all are able just to take those tighter corners versus a four-door, you're driving a school bus.
On the trail, they are kind of referred to as school buses. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you got my motor, you're just driving a minivan through the forest. But, hey, it's got the 3.8. It did come in a minivan, so there's a little hate.
It's a hard-working engine.
It is. It's lasted me a while. So that's a good thing is, especially now me being on tons, it's even harder. It's even more of a school bus because I have to back up, especially, on a corner that he can go around. I'm like, hey, you're going to have to hold up a minute. It's going to take me a few times to back up. So that's the hardest thing for me, but I would say that's a negative, but I feel like the benefits of the four-door as far as not tipping over, because I don't like that sketchy factor.
Yes. There are several places that I have been pretty nervous either going up or going down, and afraid I would flip it over on its roof.
So the next thing for me as far as the two-door versus four-door is I wouldn't say I'm a bad packer, but I like to pack everything in the kitchen sink. So my Jeep is pretty heavy, and I carry a lot of tools, and it's very heavy. But a two-door, you've limited space. I mean, very limited.
Yeah, you have to. Well, first of all, I've always appreciated people who pack a lot of tools, parts. It's amazing what they'll pull out of a four-door.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm sorry.
So when you have a two-door, you have to be very mindful of what you bring as far as parts and tools, and put it in there very well. Pack it well.
Right. So that's my thing is I like to bring everything because I don't want to be the one broken down. So my philosophy is if I bring it, I won't break. And if I do forget it, I usually break that part that I don't have. And so I try to bring mostly everything with me. But the two-door, you're kind of having to be picky, and you kind of have to pick and choose. And so more like instead of maybe all the wrenches, you have a few adjustable crescents, versus like the whole slew of-
Right. I mean, even your sockets, when you break down and start looking at your sockets, you're like, okay, I only need one of these.
I don't need this size. I don't need that size. And that kind of goes back to some other podcasts I've talked about, is getting underneath your Jeep and knowing what bolt sizes you have, what socket sizes you need. So if you are tight on space, you're not carrying the entire socket set. You're carrying what you need. That doesn't necessarily help the guy next to you, but at least you have everything in your Jeep to make yourself as capable as possible. And if you do break, you have something to fix yourself.
Yes.
So it's just more for a two-door. You just got to be more mindful.
Selective.
Yeah, there you go. Selective of what you bring. So you're not bringing everything in the kitchen sink like I do.
Correct.
So, but it comes in handy from time to time.
It does.
So, the next thing about a two-door that I like, I'll actually give a positive of a two-door, is it goes back to the bouncing through the trail. It's almost cheating.
Yes, in some situations it is. Yes.
And the thing is, like a four-door, I might have to put my lockers on, but the two-door can go up the same spot and not even spin a tire.
I think the two-door has a lot more options on angles versus a four-door. So if you've got an obstacle to one side, you can go in at a different angle than a four-door that may not have the option.
Right, because I know when I go up into certain obstacles, especially at like Stony or Windrock, my side of the world, which you need to come to.
Yes.
I've come to Texas many a times, so we're gonna have to get him on the books for Alabama. But
you got to get cleared through the boss.
Yeah, the boss.
They're
sitting over there, so they're hearing this. So, but I'll try to get to a certain approach angle, and the rear end of the Jeep, I'm having to swing really wide, but you can't really swing really wide in a four-door just because it's a school bus, and so you're not able to make that approach angle that you want.
Yes.
So it is harder. How would you say you've ridden in four doors? Have you? A few? No?
No.
You've never driven a four-door?
Not on the trail.
Not on the trail?
Not on the trail.
Okay, going down the road, do you think there's a difference? Because I don't know if I've ridden in like a TJ off-road, never in a JK, but mostly four doors. Would you say there's a difference in comfortability or like road mannerisms or the suspension?
I think the longer wheelbase does provide more stability, on the road.
Right.
And we have a four-door that we obviously take on the road, but
it's just not owned by you.
It's not owned by me. But yeah, I think you do get into situations where, maybe it's snowing or something like that, and you
Right.
feel a lot more confident with a longer wheelbase on an interstate than you would with a two-door or a shorter wheelbase.
Right. I will say, though, it doesn't matter what Jeep you have, even if you do have the four doors versus two doors and somebody's got to get in the back. I mean, I know a two-door is if you have the back seat left, which many people don't because they put tools there.
Yes.
And so, but even getting in the back seat of a four-door is a pain.
Yes.
It's not comfortable back there.
For an adult, no.
No. So if you're going for the plan of, I'm going to fit four people or four grown adults in there, don't go with that plan because it's not going to be comfortable, but it's not going to be even, it's going to be worse in a two-door, but it's still not comfortable.
Correct. I think a lot of people that I've talked to that end up getting a four-door is they have children or adolescents,
Right.
that can get in there. And, of course, 7-year-old kid can just bounce in and out.
Yeah,
no problem.
Right.
So that way they can take their family out and go wheeling and enjoy the trails.
Yes.
So,
would you steer them towards a JK? Or here, I'll start over. Would you, if you were going to pick a two-door,
mm-hmm.
unlimited money, okay, would you do a TJ, an LJ, or a JK?
Two-door.
Two-door.
LJs, and I think the world's spoken. The LJ is the perfect wheel length or wheelbase and a two-door. It's the perfect everything.
If I had to pick a two-door, it'd be the LJ.
Yes.
Because it does have the longer wheelbase. It does look a little funny, but just because of the longer bed, the longer.
I think they look funny.
But I think they look good though. They look funny, but I think I like the wheelbase is perfect.
It is. It's that perfect right between the two-door and the four-door, or the
you can carry more tools.
TJ.
You're not as limited.
You can, yes. But a lot of my friends have LJs, and I always have to tell them, well, I think they look funny. That's why I don't like them.
Okay, so if you pick the LJ, why the LJ over a JK?
The TJ LJ series, between the engine, the transmission, parts availability, it's just the whole world's open to the TJ LJ right now, and you can't say enough about the 4-liter engine. That's the best engine that they've ever put in any Jeep, I think, for longevity.
I'll agree on that. I will agree with you on a two-door as far as the 4.
Yep. I've told you before, I've got one with 335,000 miles, and it is probably one of the best running 4-liters I've ever seen. It starts up, smooth, quiet. It's impressive.
Right. I will say I steer away from the newer Jeeps because of all the technology in them. I will say that. The earlier model JKs were a lot easier to work on versus the later models.
Absolutely.
So if you're thinking about, which Jeep, I know I've talked about this in the past on another podcast, is, especially the JLs, all the computer issues. It's hard to work on them.
Yeah, we actually had, at our last event, we had an interesting deal where the ABS sensor wire to the rear wheel got ripped out, and every single light on that dash lit up. They had no lockers. Everything was shut down on it. Other than the fact that it would still run and drive.
Right.
All the functions were gone.
So, like, in my Jeep, granted, it doesn't even know if it's in 4-wheel drive because the sensor's out.
Right.
It just thinks, I literally put it in 4-wheel drive and it doesn't know the difference. But I know on the earlier model JKs, it didn't matter what was wrong with it. As long as it hadn't blown up, it was still going to run.
Yes.
I don't even know if mine will go into, I knock on wood, but I've never seen the early models go into limp mode. Now the 12 and up I've seen them go into limp mode, but not the early models.
Right. And the newer ones even, I think they're great.
Creature comforts are nice.
Yeah, we've got a JL and great Jeep, but when you start to have problems with them.
Okay, so we both own a shop, and so what would you say is the easiest to work on as far as TJ, JK, 4-door versus 2-door?
Obviously, the TJ.
Well, because you're familiar with it. I think JK is easier because I'm just around it.
Right, but there's a lot of things you can just get to quite easily on the 4-liter engine.
Oh, you open up the hood and it's just open.
Yes.
There's not a bunch of plastic
Correct.
doodads you got to take apart. There's nothing like that. It's just open. There's the motor. There's the air box. There's the battery.
Correct. And if you have to take the battery box out of a JK, anybody that's had the enjoyment of doing that, the 3 bolts that it takes to take the TJ, LJ battery box, if you will, out is very, very quick. So one thing that has always impressed me is how much easier a manual, and it doesn't matter what it is, JL, TJ, JK, how much easier it is to work on a manual transmission.
But in the same aspect, I think it's easier to wheel an automatic.
No.
See, he's a manual guy. I think I'm an automatic guy on the rocks.
I'll die on that hill. I will absolutely die on that hill.
I'm right here.
A manual is light years ahead of an automatic.
No.
Yes.
Well, I will say this. You have to be really good at a manual, I think. Like, you can't start day one and feel comfortable off-road, in my opinion. I can just jump in it, go to drive, and just drive. I know it's cheating if you're a realist, but I guess I'm cheating. You know, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, you are a cheater. No, I think a lot of that has to do with the transfer case. So if you've got, when I first started wheeling and I had a 231, it was just a sport TJ 231, and when you get stopped on a steep hill, it was always challenging to hold the brake, bring up your revs, and let out on your clutch. And they made, they've got thumb throttles. They've got all kinds of stuff you can do. And I ordered an Atlas transfer case and realized I don't need a thumb throttle. I can just let out on the clutch and go.
Right.
So that's a game changer.
Have you driven one of the new like JLs or the Gladiators with a manual? It's like cheating. Like it might as well be an automatic because you can almost dump the clutch.
Really?
Oh,
No.
Oh yeah, it's dumb. Like,
No, I have not.
I drove one in a parking lot, and I just let out, and it didn't even stall. Like I let it all the way out, and just started pressing the gas like I would an automatic. But I just released the clutch all the way, and just hit the gas like it didn't do anything.
Was it a delayed release on the clutch or something?
I don't know, but I mean, I've rode dirt bikes. I've never really. I know how to drive a manual, but I've never really done it as a daily driver. But I literally backed it out of the spot, and I was like, well, that was really easy. But then I got in a CJ, and I was like, I stalled it like twice after I drove that.
There's not much technology in a CJ.
No, there's not.
Well, when the wife did pick out her JL, she did drive a manual JL, and she liked it. But,
it's not bad.
But she was tired of everything she had was manuals, and she's like, I think I'm going to go with an automatic. So
yeah. So we've gone over some positives. The 2-door's just really nimble down the trail. The 4-door, I think, is more stable down the trail. You get better breakover angles with the 2-door, but then again, you're really steep in a 2-door going on trails. And so, you can pack more stuff, more people in a 4-door, more selective in a 2-door. And so, it's really just kind of what you want, unfortunately. There's not really, I guess, a rhyme or reason.
Yes.
I mean, it's really personal preference because I don't think I would drive a 2-door off-road. Not saying I won't ever. You might get me one day.
Maybe one day we should swap Jeeps. When I've got my real Jeep with me.
Yeah.
We'll swap Jeeps.
Now, I will say...
Or if you want, you can drive my my right-hand drive I brought up this time.
Yeah, he did bring our right-hand drive Jeep up called Postal. So I just sat in it because I've never sat in a right-hand drive Jeep. And I just sat in it, and it just felt like this was another world.
2-door, wrong side.
Yeah, crazy. Like I was like, "Where's the gear shifter? Oh, it's on my left." That's the door handle. Yeah. So he drove Postal down here. It's really cool. But going back into kind of summarizing the 2-door versus 4-door debate, going from tire sizes, we talked about, a 4-door on like 37s is really, the equivalent is a 2-door on 35s. And you can kind of, basically you need a size bigger for a 4-door.
Yes.
Now I know this is not on the debate as far as 2-door versus 4-door, but I mean, it is a 4-door technically. It's just a lengthen.
Yes,
but the Gladiator, the JT, if you're going to do any type of, you can do some trails. I will say that. I don't like a 35, 37. But if you're going to keep up with a 4-door on 37s or a 2-door on 35s, you're going to have to run 40s. There's no way around it.
And I would almost say that that's really, the Gladiator needs to be maybe even, a 4-door on 37s, a Gladiator 41s.
I know, something bigger.
It's pretty incredible, like how we were talking about the stability of going up and down steep. It's amazing what a Gladiator can do.
Oh, they're super stable.
Yes.
It's like a limousine, not a bus. It's a limousine going down the road.
But don't run over a log because you're going to get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. The worst thing about it is the bed. I think everybody that I know that's got a Gladiator that's off-road, they've dented the bed somewhere or hit it or underneath, or they can't run a spare tire anymore because they've poked a hole in it. So if you're going to actually wheel a Gladiator, I don't know if you've seen it, but Moto Built makes the bob bed. If you don't have a bob bed on it, good luck.
Yeah, that bumper's toast.
Yeah. You better put some steel bumpers on it, some good skid plates, rock sliders, because you're going to bang it up.
Yes, that would be the nice way to say it.
I unless you're using that as your daily just kind of go around town and you need a pickup truck, it would be really hard for me to want to wheel that without a bob bed. I'd wheel it with a bob bed on 40s.
That is a huge difference having a bob bed. Yes.
Now, I think I saw one today. I don't know if you saw it today. It was in the line. We're at, like I said, the Drummond Island Jamboree, and I actually saw one. I think it was on 40s. It was like, I think orange in color. Could be wrong. Caitlin's behind the camera. So,
Does it have the KC lights?
I think so, but it had a Moto-Built Bob bed on it.
I've seen that a couple times since I've been on the island here, and I didn't really notice if it had a bob bed.
It did. So I saw it.
I was really checking out the KC lights, so that looks pretty good.
Because I looked at it and I was like, okay, that's shorter than it's supposed to be.
Right.
So that instantly gave it away, and good job to Moto-Built for building that, because you really solved a big issue. Unless you now, I will say I do think it's cool that they can put the rack system on it. You can carry more gear, especially if you're like an overlander.
Yes.
Not, just wanting to hit the trails. I think it's good for that. You can put the drawer system in it. You can carry, I will say it's more comfortable for if you have more people. The back seat is more comfortable, I think, in those than a four-door.
It's probably, do I dare say this?
Go ahead.
The most versatile Jeep. But it may cost you a lot
to get it there. Yeah, I don't think you're going to do it in stock form.
No, absolutely not.
And now I will say the JL, and this goes for 2-doors versus 4-doors, Gladiators in the JL series. So I really consider a Gladiator just a JL with a bed. They do have stronger axles than the JK did and the TJ did.
Yes.
So you can't. I'm not going to say that you should run 40s on stock axles, but you can get away with it more so than a JK or a TJ.
Yeah.
With 44s, not the Dana 30.
Yeah. I actually had a customer come into the shop. They just bought this Jeep, and it's got a 6-inch lift, 40-inch tires, and still running the stock 410 gears. And this engines, you'll have to talk about engines one day. That 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo has just zinged it right down the road, 80 mile an hour, 85. I was pretty impressed. But after talking to him and kind of explaining to him, if to wheel it, you cannot run 40s on the stock axles.
Yeah, you
can for a short time.
Yeah, you can for a short time. I think you can get away with it more so than a 4-door. I will say this. So I think, going back to axles, if you are on a 2-door, and this is another positive for a 2-door, let's say you have 44s, front and rear.
Correct.
On a 2-door. I think you can run 40s and get away with it longer than if they were 40s on a 4-door.
Yeah.
Because of the weight.
Because of the weight, yes. I totally agree with that.
The weight's just not there, and that's what kills your axles. I mean, you've got to think, because I'm on tons, the axle shaft is massive in tons versus a 44. You should just compare the sizes. It's drastically bigger. And so the 4-door, especially on inclines, it's when it's not the hopping. It's when you stop hopping.
Flying an airplane. Yeah, it's easy. It's the landing that's hard.
It's the landing that's hard. And so the hopping, you going up and down, and the sudden stop is when you break the axle shaft, and you just don't get that hopping as much with a 2-door. So that's another positive of the 2-door, in my opinion. Usually the 2-door just flips over, but
well, I will say this: the weight is truly an issue. I had that 392, and that's quite a bit heavier, and even the engineers at Jeep, there's some subtle differences in what they did with the 392 because of the weight and probably horsepower.
Right. So you can get away with different things with the 2-door and 4-door just because of weight. I don't know if have you weighed your Jeep, your 2-door, or any of your 2-doors?
No, not individually. I know what 2 of them weigh.
Okay, so your normal 2-door that's kind of kitted out, what would you say it weighs?
Oh, 4,500 or so. If you've got armor.
Yeah. So I'm at roughly, I think we weren't fully packed out like we are now, but with 2 people in it, I'm probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,500.
Yeah.
So you're like, think 2,000 pounds more.
Yeah.
And so you add 2,000 pounds, it could be a little less. Let's say 1,500 to 2,000. It's somewhere in that ballpark. That's a lot of weight on those axles. And I don't think people understand the differences of what that weight can do on an axle that's not meant for.
When you come down and you hop, and those tires are spinning, and that weight, yeah. I would totally agree with your statement that you can get away with more on a 2-door than you can a 4-door.
Absolutely. And so if you do go to 40s, it's just, he says it's cheating, but whatever. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? So
less skill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I will say for the most part, I can point and shoot majority of the time.
Yes.
But I built it that for there's some reasons I have. I feel like they're valid as far as, I don't break as much as
right.
Because I'm not building it to go do buggy stuff. I'm just building it not to break.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, there are differences. But, you're going to have to really beef some stuff up to run the 40s, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of things. Not to even mention brakes.
Yeah, crazy how things won't stop. I mean, the JK brakes, I will say, are not the greatest in the world.
No, but TJ brakes are even worse.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Oh, they're little.
That's negative.
That's why you put
you
different brakes on.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, we've gone over the 2-door versus 4-door debate. We might have not answered your question, but if you have a question, please put it in the comment section below. I didn't give the spiel earlier, but hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, leave us a comment, hit that bell for all notifications. And if you're on Spotify, hit that follow button. But we really do appreciate Joe coming on. What a good friend, and he does have a shop out in Texas. What's the shop? Amarillo.
Axle and accessories.
Yeah, I always get I want to say gear and axle or something.
AAA.
Yeah, there you go. So Amarillo. Axle and accessories. So if you're in the Amarillo area, check him out. And so we really do appreciate him coming on. We're going to go wheeling, and we'll have that video out soon, hopefully, after this trip. So we're excited about that. But we really do appreciate you tuning in. So we want to know where your next destination is. Leave that in the comment section below. And if you have a question, and we hope to see you out on the trail.